your attorneys may appear in court on your behalf without you present?
Yes, Your Honor.
The witness list has been released in Danny Masterson's Los Angeles rape trial, and it's been confirmed some pretty big names are planning to testify. Journalist Tony Ortega comes on to discuss what he's learning after being in the courtroom. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. As we've reported here on Sidebar, actor Danny Masterson's sex crimes trial has officially begun this week out in Los Angeles. The That 70s Show actor is facing 3 charges of forcible rape with respect to 3 women who were former members of the Church of Scientology. This happened between 2001 and 2003. And if he's convicted, he could face a lengthy prison sentence, up to 45 years behind bars. It is a really interesting case to follow because Masterson is a longtime member of the Church of Scientology, and we've already spoken about what we might learn about the inner workings of the church. But right now, I want to talk about who's going to be called to the witness stand, because it has been confirmed that a big name is about to testify in this trial. And also, all of the names have been listed because the witness list has been revealed. So I want to bring in right now journalist Tony Ortega, who has been following this case. He's been a frequent contributor on the Danny Masterson story here on Sidebar. He is the founder of the Underground Bunker, where he writes about Scientology-related issues and stories. You can find him at tonyortega.substack.com. And Tony, as always this week, has been reporting from outside of that Los Angeles courthouse. Tony, good to see you again.
Thank you very much, Jesse. Great to be back.
So I want to talk about the witness list. We'll go through some of them, but let's first start with the big bombshell, right? It has officially been confirmed that Lisa Marie Presley is going to testify. Am I accurate? And what do you think she's going to testify to?
Right. A week ago, we broke the news. I came on Sidebar. We were way ahead of everybody and said that Lisa Marie Presley was on the prosecution witness list. And now the court itself has released that list. And sure enough, Lisa Marie Presley is on it, just as we said it would be. She's on the prosecution list. Now, you know how it works, Jesse. Both sides submit lists, and those people probably will testify, but there's a chance that some of them won't. So we can't say with absolute certainty that Lisa Marie Presley will testify, but I think she will. And I think it's significant that she's a prosecution witness. She was a Scientologist. I've written at length about the journey she went on to leave Scientology back in 2014. And now here she is testifying on behalf of 3 women who are former Scientologists against Danny Masterson, who was a current Scientologist. So, very interesting dynamic of who these people are. And I still don't know exactly what Lisa Marie Presley is going to testify to. I have some idea, but she wasn't there the night that Jane Doe 1's incident happened, so I'm not exactly sure how they're going to use her. But I think it's just really interesting that she has agreed to be a part of this case.
But if she's friends with Jane Doe 1, right? Because my understanding is, again, the allegation from Jane Doe 1 is that after Masterson allegedly sexually assaulted her, this again back in 2003, he allegedly said, quote, "You're not going to tell effing Lisa. You're not going to tell you're not going to effing tell anybody." So it makes me wonder, did Jane Doe 1 have a relationship with Lisa Marie Presley and tell her something about Masterson?
Yeah, that's one of the interesting things we're learning about the case, is that there was this social set largely around Lisa Marie Presley and people like Luke Watson that are mentioned in the case. He was living, I think, at her house as a lodger at the time. And, these were all very close people, friends who were all very close friends: Danny Masterson, Luke Watson, Lisa Marie Presley, and Jane Doe 1. There's a whole set of those folks. And I think we're going to hear a lot about that group in the coming testimony.
All right, so tell me who else is on the witness list that we should be looking out for.
Well, one that I was really interested to see, not too long ago, I think, Jesse, you and I talked about the fact that it was revealed that Marty Singer had been pulled into a grand jury, and that because of that, there was some documents that he had to turn over. And I told you at that time, I didn't know if he himself was going to be pulled in. Well, what do you know? He's on the witness list. So Marty Singer, I mean, this is really interesting. This is one of Hollywood's big fixers. This is a guy whose whole job is to keep Hollywood stars out of trouble. And not only is Danny Masterson, one of his clients, in big trouble, but Marty Singer himself is going to be pulled in to testify. I just think that's really, really interesting.
Attorney-client privilege. I don't know how much he's going to be able to testify to.
I know, and that's what I'm going to be interested to see. What is it that he can testify to? What can they ask him that's not privileged? I don't. I'm not. I think it all has to go back to this 2004 agreement that Jane Doe 1 claims she was forced into by Marty Singer, by the Church of Scientology's attorney, and by a Church of Scientology ethics officer. And she has testified that she felt pressured that if she didn't sign that agreement with Danny and sign a non-disclosure agreement, that she would be declared suppressive by the Church of Scientology and lose connection with everybody she knew. I think that's what they're going to ask Marty to testify about. So it may be more about his dealings with her rather than trying to ask him things about his client, which of course you can't do.
Is there, you mentioned Scientology. Are there members of the church that are now on the witness list that we can confirm that are going to give us some insight into the inner workings of the organization? Whether, again, and you tell me, is this the witness list for both the prosecution and the defense?
Virtually all the witnesses are for the prosecution. The only witnesses for the defense are a couple of memory experts and a toxicology expert, and then Danny Masterson's assistant, or probably former assistant now, but assistant at the time. She's on both lists, which I found interesting. Her name is Bree Schaefer. She's a Scientologist. She's married to Scientologist actor Michael Pena, and she's a very interesting a figure in this whole thing. So yeah, she's a Scientologist, but Judge Olmedo made it clear she's going to allow some testimony in about Scientology's policies to help explain why these women didn't come forward sooner. But she is not going to allow an examination of Scientology's beliefs and practices, something like that.
But are there other big names that we should be looking out for in terms of from the church, or maybe even other celebrities that we should be looking out for too?
There are some actors and actresses. I don't think they're particularly well known, but the whole list, you know, I, I'm not sure how much I should say, Jesse. These poor people, they're going to be so on the spot. But
And we understand that. We understand that to the best that you can explain. You may not give names, but I guess the idea is what? How about this? The witness list itself. Does it tell you which direction both sides are going? Because you just revealed something to me by saying the defense is calling memory experts. I now think about immediately Harvey Weinstein, who did the same kind of thing, calling those kinds of experts to testify about how well do these accusers actually remember the details, and is their story kind of changed by the media and the public perception, what they're told. Does that affect memory? So that tells me something about where the defense is going. Do you have a clearer sense based on the witness list of where the prosecution is going?
well, I have a clearer sense based on the preliminary hearing last year, because that's basically what the defense was doing, was saying, look, whatever happened between, say, Jane Doe 3, that was the alleged victim who actually was in a relationship with Danny for several years. Whatever she's saying now is different than what she was saying then. And what happens is her memory kind of grows with time. Now, the prosecution denies that and says that all three victims have been very consistent. But, this is how it's going to work. The defense is going to try to convince the jury that things have sort of grown or morphed in people's memories, because memory is a tricky thing over time. And that also the defense is going to try to make the case that not only did these women change their stories over time, but they were colluding. They were trying to figure out a way to make their stories mesh more. The prosecution says no. The prosecution's argument is no. The cases are similar because Danny had an MO, right, and he did the similar thing to the same women. It's not that they invented and made sure that their stories matched. So that's going to be the fight that's going on. The prosecution defending these women's allegations over time, and these memory experts coming in and saying you can't rely on what somebody is saying 18 years after something happened.
Yeah, and I think that's important. You mentioned also is there anybody going to corroborate maybe Danny Masterson's side, other than, of course, as you mentioned, a toxicology expert and a memory expert? Other than that, do you think that he's going to call anybody to? We saw a little bit of it on the Harvey Weinstein trial, except it was reversed when they decided to call certain witnesses. It backfired against them. Do you think you're going to see that here? Do you think he's going to call friends or family or anybody like that?
The only person he has on his list besides those experts is his former assistant, Bree Schaefer. And I assume that's the kind of thing she's going to be doing, is what you just said, is what did he say around the time? Does this back up his version? But that's it. I think, and I think it's not unusual in cases like this that the defense's main strategy is just to cross-examine all of the prosecution's witnesses, and that's their case.
Tony Ortega, always great having you on, sir. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks, Jesse.
And thanks, everybody, for joining us here on Sidebar. Please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. Speak to you next time.